The beautiful art of resignation, folks. This is something that I've coined. It's probably not that original, but I think it has a nice ring to it. It's not something that is pessimistic or cynical, and it certainly isn't defeatism. I don't want anybody to think that what I'm talking about here is defeatism. Okay, the beautiful art of resignation is when you understand certain things, when you understand how reality works, when you have a notion of truth. That is when the beautiful art of resignation can truly uplift you in a way that nothing else can. Uh, most people in life, they chase things that they will never have. Most people participate in this marathon or this competition, whatever it may be, knowing full well that they will never win. Knowing full well that they are losers. Most people are losers. Only a few people are winners in this world, obviously. Most people, the population in general, is comprised of losers and suckers, etc. Right? And even though this truth, blatantly stares us in the face, most people still just persist and pursue whatever it is that they pursue with a passion because, what else is there? What else is there to do? Well, the alternative is to do nothing. To do nothing. And here comes the beautiful art of resignation, which has been a godsend to me. It has been a blessing of the highest order possible. The art of resignation, it can prevent a lot of suffering, a lot of hurt, a lot of humiliation, actually. Because if you've noticed, even if, it's so obvious. Most people, I guess, know, when certain things won't happen according to plan, when most people know exactly that they are failures and that they will not succeed, etc., etc., and yet they continue to do whatever it is that they do, and there is so much humiliation involved and so much cringe, you know, for example, dudes who think that if they are persistent and pursue a certain woman, they think that if they persist in this pursuance of a woman, they think that that woman will recognize and she will, open her eyes and accept him as a partner. It's never gonna happen. And these dudes humiliate themselves and they look like simps and they have this desperation, and it's basically a humiliation ritual unlike any other. But this is just one example. You can add whatever example you want. Okay? People subject themselves to silly, goofy nonsense because they believe a lie that if they try hard enough, if they struggle, if they just keep at it on that grind set, etc., etc., and they hustle, they think that at the end of the tunnel there will be a success, that they will be on top. And of course, if you've lived long enough, you know that generally this is not the case, that generally in life you don't really succeed no matter how hard you try. You might be even gifted, you might have potential, you might be skilled, you might be talented, you might be above average, and you still might fail every time. And generally this is the case also with, you know, people who are slightly above average as well. Of course, this has to do a lot with ego. Most people, they just cannot let go. They cling on so tight to these illusions, and they lie to themselves. They deceive themselves with silly nonsense, preposterous, ridiculous stuff in order to feel better, you know, which is just it's so time consuming. It just consumes your energy. I don't understand how so many people can put so much effort into a sinking ship. Like, what are we dealing with here? It is, and of course, I'm not better than anybody else. I used to be the same way when I was younger. I used to chase whatever it was that I was chasing, even though obviously it was clear that there would be no success, because of course you have to struggle and you have to persist and pursue. And oh boy, let me tell you, it isn't so. It isn't so. And because of this, a lot of people, they get sad, they get broken, heartbroken, they get shattered. You know, people crumble. It's a whole lot of suffering for nothing. A whole lot of suffering for nothing. And you know, I can say it. It's a confession of mine. I've wasted the best years of my life on uh, on chasing stuff that I thought I needed, which I did not need, and it all ended up in a nightmare of sadness, and I was miserable because I just couldn't conceive of the fact that perhaps sometimes it's better to be resigned. Most of the time, it's far better to just be resigned and just call it how it is. And I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna go there for what? For what? Right? And this, the beautiful art of resignation is, you know, it's just so amazing, because once you understand it, you can never go back, you can never look back, you can never become just another sheep who just, you know, repeats all these catchphrases and oh boy, you have to try, you have to, for what? No, we all know what the result will be, you know. And of course there is this cliche, well, you know, you might not be especially talented, you might not have any potential whatsoever, of course, but if you really try hard enough, and if you train yourself hard enough, and if you are so dedicated, and if you have such discipline, perhaps you can actually become the best of the best. And I would say on extremely rare occasions this is the case, but generally no. In my experience, hard work cannot beat genius. Hard work cannot beat absolute talent. You know, this is just one example, or a couple of examples. You can try your hardest. You can train and work on yourself and improve yourself 20 hours every day. You will not be able to hold a candle to somebody who is naturally gifted, for example. No candle. You might be a contestant, you might be maybe a bit of competition, but you will never be on equal footing. It's just, it is what it is, you know. So why try so hard enough? It's because of ego, because we just cannot let go of our darlings, you know. We have to rely on something. We have to be dependent on something, because otherwise, what else is there? You know, and I always say this: people who rely on external factors, whatever they may be, they rely on the external because they do not have any internal resources of their own. Okay? That is why most people rely on things like religion, politics, this movement, that movement, social media, whatever it is. They cling on to these things, whatever they may be, because they do not have any internal resources. Okay? People wish that things will be better tomorrow. Whenever something bad happens, people say all of these cliches and stereotypes because they have hope for something that does not exist. This is hilarious to me. Most people have hope in things that, number one, are impossible, and number two, they do not exist. Instead of being resigned and saying it how it is. Oh, you think with this election things will change drastically for the better, and next year this and this will happen for the better, and don't you know, if you believe this or this religion or that God or in this political party or in this group, or if you practice Pilates, and they wish Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday. They just oink all of these, slogans, because God forbid they accept the reality of the matter, which is that nothing will ever change for the better, period, because this is the natural state of this reality, of this world, of this society. Don't you subscribe to this? Don't you subscribe to that? Don't you care about the whales and the bees and recycling and climate change? No, not really, no. Don't you care that the pandas will go extinct? No, fuck the pandas. They should go extinct. And don't you care about this and pronouns? I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm resigned. Because I know the truth that all of this is just gibberish. It's all gibberish. All of this stuff that people occupy themselves with. It is because they refuse to accept the truth of everything. This truth is always staring us in the face. People hope for the better because they cannot endure the truth. Which, of course, the truth is always, negative. Nothing will improve for the better. This won't change for the better, etc., etc. You can apply this to whatever. This fake positivity and phony optimism. And just be an upbeat person. Just be uplifting for whatever reason, because God forbid we just behave like mature adults for once, So, I refuse to be one of these people who just regurgitate, happy feeling platitudes because it makes them feel better, People wish for an afterlife, for a place in heaven or whatever, in Valhalla. And not me, though. I'm resigned. Even if heaven is real, I don't care one way or another. Who wants to be in heaven with all of those people? For what? And in life in general, people, despite the fact that, they will never be number one, they will never be as pretty, as tall, as smart, people persist and pursue whatever it is. And in the process, they humiliate themselves is because they just cannot let go and be resigned. I think being resigned is noble. It's dignified. It's, no, I'm not gonna placate you with cookie cutter bullshit just to make you feel better. I think, you know what it is? I think people generally need to experience more despair. You know, people talk about, oh, they're depressed and they're suicidal. You don't know just how miserable you can be. You need to try harder. You know, a lesson learned through suffering is the best thing ever. Ever since I resigned myself, things have been just perfect almost. Because, of course, when I was younger, I used to be like everybody else. You know, I tried to impress this girl or that girl. I tried to dress a certain way. I tried to, do this, do that. I did more sports. I dressed this way, got those sneakers, participated in this, talked like this, changed this about me. You know, I tried to be more outgoing, I tried to be more expressive. I tried to be more social. I tried to be more extroverted. It didn't work, though. First of all, it didn't work because I knew it was false. Okay, and it wasn't in my nature to be so. And I knew that I would not be successful. And yet I still tried when I should have been resigned. You know, even though we know all of that most things in life are just bullshit in general, we just cannot resign ourselves with this fact that, generally speaking, life sucks and then we die. And I'm just like, yeah, that's great. Of course, that's perfect. Why not? Why shouldn't it be so? You know, life isn't this fun party. It isn't. Most of the time, it's just a nightmare. A torturous nightmare. And most people, let me tell you, they are not a delight to be around. Okay, so I resign myself. It's just like, what am I doing here with this stupid bullshit? To do what? With these people? Hell no. So I resign myself. I don't try to impress anyone. I don't try to be invested or immersed in most things, in anything. I don't have any attachments. I'm not invested. Because I know the truth. I'm resigned. You know, I know that most things in society are doomed to fail because in their essence, they are trash. Right? Most jobs are trash. Most schools produce dummies. Politicians are scum. Right? Everything is phony and fake. Everything in society is here to take advantage of the population. Right? Why not be resigned? Why deceive yourselves with honey and nectar, even though the taste is bitter? You know, to speak in metaphors. And I don't wish for a better tomorrow. I don't wish for, wars to end. I don't wish for everybody to get along and be, to tolerate one another. I don't think that we all can get along. I think human beings in general are a bunch of beasts and animals, right? All it takes is a little pressure and people lose their shit. Nothing will get better, Most people will be just as dumb tomorrow. And the other generations as well. Most jobs will never pay enough for people to be, to be secure. And everything in society is doomed to fail because they don't have good intentions, right? I don't trust people. Of course, I'm resigned to the fact. People think there will be a cure for cancer and what have you. And oh boy, because if we have this or that, if we pass this laws, and if people just get together and let's visualize and let's just meditate on this, things will improve. No, they won't. No, they won't. Okay, this century this 21st century, in my book, is cooked from the outset. This century is cooked. It's only been a quarter of a century so far, and it is already cooked, in my view. It's done for. This century and these generations that will come after us, they're done for, doomed, before even being born. Of course. The only thing that we can look forward to is maybe a couple of technological advancements, but that's about it. Right? I don't have any optimistic impressions about anything. Right? You just have to look a bit at history in general, and you can see what human beings do here, generally. Right? It's atrocious. So I don't have any lingering attachments to anything. I'm resigned completely. And of course, being this way will mean that you will be alone for the most part, because most people, they just cannot comprehend such a mindset or outlook on life. Is, most people think that life is a special, exotic, wondrous, miraculous event or affair. It isn't. We are born to die. We are born alone. We live alone, and we die alone, regardless of how many buddies we have. Nobody will ever know us truly. This is pretty basic, simple stuff I'm talking about here, right? I don't care about religions. I think it's all a scam. Countries in general and their leaders and they're all corrupt to the core, of course. All of the institutions of a society also extremely corrupt. Like, what do you have to look forward to? Nothing. You just have to see it for what it is and say it how it is, right? Everything is trash, of course. And why is it trash? Because trash begets trash. Like George Carlin said, where do you think all of these lying, terrible politicians come from, etc.? And all the criminals, they don't drop from the sky. They don't grow on trees. They come from society, from families like you, like families, like your families and my families. They come from out there on the street. All of the terrible people who do terrible things. All of these monstrous people. They had a family just like everybody else, right? There wasn't any incredible supernatural, event that allowed them to be alive. So I guess the great lesson is to know exactly how things are and to know exactly how you stand. This is extremely important, to be perceptive and observant, to have attention, to be present and to understand, if I do this, ain't no way. And most people, they cannot accept this fact, because of ego, because of pride. A dude who is basic as fuck, he thinks that if he has enough swag and charisma and wisdom, he thinks he can bag a baddie just because he's confident and assertive. And every time they look like fools. And this is just one example. It can apply to women as well, right? And you can apply this to any situation. You want to get a job in a certain field and you just don't know nothing about nothing. And you think that if you can just talk your shit, you think you can score. You won't. Right? You think you can impress somebody. You think that if you act this way and dress this way and have this attitude, you think somebody will be like, hey, yo, this one's real. Yeah, let's give this person a chance. No, most of the times this does not work. And people know this, no matter how hard you pray, etc., etc. No matter how hard you hope. For what? All of this is just so humiliating and offensive even, right? And I'll repeat myself. There is dignity in resignation, and people ask, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to be that? Don't you want to have friends? And I'm just like, no. Don't you have goals and ambitions in life? Don't you have any aspirations, bruh? And I'm just like, no. For what? No, not really. No. For what? For what? Don't you go places? Don't you go on vacation? Don't you travel? And I'm like, no. For what? Huh? For what? Don't you go to the beach, or don't you go there? There's a party, a holiday, yo ho ho, it's Christmas. No. I'm resigned. I know what happens here. I know what happens here. All of this is just artificial, superficial stuff so that people can distract themselves from the fact that nothing will ever satisfy, and that what we have to look forward to is a hole in the ground. Because we all end up in the cemetery, one way or another. And if you notice, people like to pretend that they're all so happy and successful, and oh my God, their relationships are so great. But if you are attentive, you can see that most people are just bored out of their minds. They're just miserable. People who are married or have a long-lasting relationship, they can't stand each other. They hate their spouses. They hate their children, and their children hate them. They hate their jobs. They just have so much money, and they're still miserable. Look how bitter and spiteful and just down and just so toxic, just how toxic people are. And these people, you think they're happy? They're all pretending. It's nothing but theatrics, nothing but slogans and catchphrases without any substance. And I don't participate in any of this because I have no stakes here. Right? I'm resigned. Because there is only darkness. And that, at least in my case, does not bother me. Perhaps after death, there is only nothingness. That to me is the best outcome. Because I'm resigned. I don't have any aspirations for an afterlife. To do what? Life already, to me, folks, I'm in my mid-30s. Life to me has been a drag since my early 20s. Right? Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what you engage in. Right? Only a nincompoop can just say, well, do this. You need to meet new people and do new things and travel and rub your nipples and it will be fine. This is not depression. This is absolute. This is courageous truth. There is courage in resignation. Instead of being this dummy who just, well, you gotta be positive and do this and lift weights. I do all of that. Okay? And I'm still like this. Pretend for what? Right? I'm not invested in anything and anyone. I'm detached completely. No investment. I knew. Okay, and this is not a humble brag. This is not me flexing, but I can remember even when I was a little kid, I just kind of had this sense like all of this is just phony. Like all of this, and this is it. I've had successes in life, folks. Small successes, but I've had successes. I've satisfied certain things. I've accomplished certain things. I used to have ambitions. So my life has been 50-50 with failures and accomplishments. I've achieved certain things. And this is the thing, right? That you achieve something that you think, oh my God, this is gonna change the game. I'm gonna be a fucking absolutely happy person. I'm just gonna be ecstatic and thrilled, and you achieve something, and you're just like, huh, it only lasted like 2 seconds. What am I gonna do now? Fuck. Right? So I'm resigned to the fact, to the absolute truth, that no matter what I do, no matter what I achieve, I know that it's not gonna do anything, and it's not gonna last. So why bother? Like, I would rather just sleep for 20 hours straight. I hibernate. I'm basically in a coma often, and it's just swell. It's fine and dandy to me because I'm resigned. Well, don't you, like, I know people, folks. I know people. These people, like, they go on social media like Facebook, and they just have to see what other people are posting, and what pictures, and they have to then gossip and badmouth these people, and they just can't stop it. I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? All of this senseless stuff. I'm just like you couldn't pay me to do this. This is a person who cannot face the music. This person just has to yap about nothing. This person has to be in everybody's face and just be, look at me, look at me. I'm just like, no, I'm resigned. I'm in the corner by myself because I know that the graveyard will swallow us whole, and our great empire, our civilization, will be dust. And we shall be food for worms in a festival in the cemetery. That is it. We're food for worms. They shall feast upon our flesh. I like that expression a lot. I use it a lot. The worms shall feast upon our flesh. I'm resigned. All that we can expect is a coffin and disappointment. Everybody will betray you. Everybody will breach your trust. Everybody will use you. Right? Nothing in this world can be trusted. Nothing. Nothing. To have hope, folks, to have hope signifies to me that you are a complete and total dumbass, devoid of any intellect whatsoever. To have hope is to be an utter fool. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. The Beautiful Art of Resignation is just so spectacular. I'm just so chill. Don't you know that so many, my God, don't you know just so many horrible things happen in the world right now? So many atrocities are being committed. And I'm just like, yeah, so what? So what? It is what it is. Like, I'm resigned, I don't care. This is what humans do. This is the best that humans are capable of. And humans deserve exactly what they get, right? And whenever something bad happens to me, I don't cry and bitch and complain and ask the heavens, why me? What have I done? I'm just like, yeah, sometimes I'm kind of an asshole. I deserve this. And I'm resigned. I'm resigned. Right? I know that nobody will ever be there for me. I know this. And I'm resigned. It's all right. Sometimes, or I should say most times, a lot of the times, it is better and advisable to just let go of everything. Of everything. This world strives to get you agitated. When you get agitated, you can be manipulated very easily. This is what the world strives for. And the most significant is that, and of course the most difficult is to learn and try to let go of yourself, to not hold on so tight to all of these impressions about yourself. If you think that you're such a wonderful person and etc., you think you're just so smart, these things have to be done away with. Like I always say, I'm always suspicious of a person who has a high opinion of themselves. That to me spells disaster. Uh, so yeah, this is The Beautiful Art of Resignation. Some people will think that this is defeatism, depression, pessimism, cynicism, whatever. I would like to call it realism and nothing else. It's just saying it how it is, because of course, um, when we are children, we do not have the ability to think critically, and we do not have the ability to question anything, and we accept every nonsense for what it is. And most people, they never grow out of it, you see, because the lies in childhood become the support mechanism for a lot of adults. Without these silly, preposterous deceptions, most people would not have something to support them, whatever that may be, It's, no. And I was like this until I learned to think and to question. And the result of that is just resignation. Because you have to be. You have to be. Because what else is there? Just to be another mindless fool? Just another brainless fool? And some might say that, ignorance is bliss. Just be a dummy. Just be a numbskull. Well, maybe. Maybe. But I choose not to be, just another brainless fool. And I choose to be resigned. And it doesn't bother me. And let me tell you, on the rare occasions when I talk to some normie about this, they get all upset. They get all flustered. They get all defensive. They get all their confidence, slackens. They become a bit aggressive. They tremble. They can't handle it. Most people cannot endure this art of resignation. Don't you hope for this or that? What are you going to do on the weekend? Absolutely nothing. And they're like, huh? What do you mean? Just that? Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. Nothing. Does that bother you? And they're like, yeah, they are bothered by this. They cannot handle the truth. So generally I don't talk to people. Hell no. When I avoid people like the plague and I just run in the opposite direction. Okay. It's just the amount of hypocrisy and contradiction that most people are capable of just to make themselves feel better and to fill themselves with this fluffy vanilla nonsense. It's just, it's just boggles the mind. But that's about it, and nothing really bad happened to me. I wasn't traumatized or anything. It's just I experienced a pretty basic life, and I kind of questioned why I was not happy. And the answer was that I believed in, and I trusted, and I worshipped stupid nonsense, the stupid nonsense that most people value. And only after I let go of all of those notions did I become a true person. Only after you let go can you see these things for what they really are. Right? All of the events that happen in society, in your country, in the world, I'm just like, all of this is nothing. All of this is nothing. If you think that any of this has an impact whatsoever on anything, it's just people are cowards. And that's fine. Right? But I'm not going to sit here and just blab about silly nonsense. I'm resigned. I am resigned. And strangely enough, being resigned like this, being a wielder of such an art, which is beautiful, is quite uplifting. It is uplifting, even though it might seem impossible. It is being this way, folks, is actually uplifting, and you might even get a laugh here and there. Just to understand how things really stand. It's just the most delicious thing ever. Don't you know that throughout history, just people died for silly causes and they were tortured to death for the dumbest things possible? And there were things like the Spanish Inquisition and conquistadors came to the Americas, and boy, oh boy, the things they did. Oh my, it's, and 2 world wars, and the daily things that people occupy themselves with. It's hilarious to me, and I am not involved in any of this in any shape or form because it's just it's beneath me, really, right? But that's about it. It's the only way for a person to be free is and to liberate yourself from all of this pointless gobbledygook is to be resigned. It is only this way, to be resigned, that you can be truly free and just be a real person, a true person, a person made whole, right? But that's about it. If you enjoy this content, if you want to support your boy, I got a few books on Amazon. The link will be down below. Thanks for watching. See ya.